Shalom, and thanks for joining us for another episode of Meuchad's Panim El Panim. This podcast is a service of Meuchad, Messianic Worshipers United, and I'm your host, Mark Vidito. With each podcast, we hear from Messianic Jewish artists and worship leaders from around the world and discuss important issues in worship today. Let's join today's podcast.
Shalom b'shem Yeshua HaMashiach. Peace be to you in the name of the Messiah, Yeshua Jesus. Welcome to Panim El Panim, and today we are here with two men who I admire incredibly, Gilbert and Mike Burton. And I have a funny story on how I met each of you, actually.
Love it.
But first of all, Trey is the quintessential bassist. He is just speaks bass, and not only does he speak bass, but when I watch you with the band, you can tell who the leader is. You know what I'm saying? He's played with New Edition, with Bobby Brown. He's played for Tyler Perry. You both worked on Cliff Richardson stuff together. You both work with Lil John Roberts. What are you doing right now, Trey, musically?
Oh, wow. First of all, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for coming, by the way, if I didn't say that already.
Stuff, man. It's really cool to do stuff like this. Still with Bobby. They have a new group called RBRM, Ronnie, Bobby, Ricky, and Mike, which is the core of New Edition, I guess you could say, or a component. Just did some stuff with Tevin Campbell, recently worked on Walter Beasley's last record and Norman Brown's last record, and currently kind of looking forward to getting back in the production chair. Kind of been missing that. The road is great, but want to kind of move back into that direction a little bit, not necessarily coming off the road, just wanting to get back in that chair of creativity and some self-care, if they, what the new thing is, because I believe that that's important to not just always do everybody else's stuff. Yes. Kind of focusing in on maybe a little bit more of me and some of my cohorts, my friends' records, and my record, my second/third record. So I want to get into that. I'm going to get into that. That's the process, building a studio and stuff like that. So I think the ride's going to be fun in 2020.
Well, and I will plug, I haven't heard the EP, but Trichotomy just blows me away. I love Trichotomy. And I couldn't find it, but I have a video of my girls sitting in the front seat of my little car out there, my little Honda, waiting on me to do something over here, and they have got Roni just pumped, and they are singing, "My heart belongs to Roni," and
so good. So good.
And they are both just jamming out. They are Trey Gilbert fans.
I love it.
In fact, you met my daughter.
I did. Took a picture. Right?
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
So I go to Cafe 290 very rarely, because I just don't have time. But I always try to see if Trey's going to be there when I go. And this year for my birthday, I wanted to take my daughter. She's 12, and I called him up. I said, "Can I bring a 12-year-old in there?" Like, as long as she doesn't sit at the bar, because we started out with you and Phil Davis and Lil John Roberts standing at the bar talking first, but man, she was just in awe. She was in awe at what she was seeing there. So training them up the way they should go. Like
there you go.
We were saying that about Star Wars. I'm saying that about music too. So anyway, Trichotomy is a fantastic album, and you can find it on iTunes. You can find it on Amazon Music. Yes. It's on Spotify.
No Spotify.
Not
CD,
Spotify.
Baby. I'm gonna go into this Spotify thing this next record because I think I'm being forced. But
you are. That's a whole different conversation. And I'll say what I always say: buy the album, listener.
Yeah.
Support your local musician. If you like what you're hearing, don't stream it, buy it.
Yes.
Which is what I did with your music.
I approve this message.
Which is how I found Mike Burton. I bought your album, and iTunes suggested, oh, well, you might like Mike Burton.
Wow.
So I'm like,
Oh, thank you, iTunes.
check out the Say What album. I'm listening. I'm like, oh, my gosh, this is so good. And then I'm at a performance for my kids at school, music, and I'm just kind of looking around. I look in the back, and I'm like, man, that guy looks like Mike Burton. What the heck? I'm not going to be that guy and go up and say, excuse me, are you Mike Burton? But then I'm on Instagram later that night, and I follow him on Instagram, follow you on Instagram, and you were posting pictures of my kid's performance. I was like, wait a second. What is going on here?
My kids were there, too.
That's right. Exactly.
Right.
I know. Right. Yeah, you stalker.
Just clear that up. Oh, my.
Wait a minute. Not in this
Why
climate.
you stalking my children?
Just at a school where you at.
School. Wait a minute.
Okay,
Background check.
Mike Burton's just standing in the back all the
right.
performances. No, but then I find out that both of your girls go to school with my kids. Like, okay, this is too good to be true here. So, and that gives us to Mike Burton. Mike Burton's played with on the Dove Awards, BET Awards, Soul Train. Played for Tyler Perry. Currently touring with Patti LaBelle, Jill Scott. What else do you have going on right now?
Being a dad. I am working on this new TV show for Fox, Aretha Franklin, starring Cynthia Erivo. So that's going to be fun. We're filming. We'll have another shoot tomorrow, so that's going on. And then starting in February, I'm back out with Patty for a while, and then Sunday Best kicks back up for BET in March. So. Staying pretty busy.
Staying busy.
Yeah.
I love to hear this guy, all this stuff.
It's like.
We have such a long history.
Yeah.
I just can't. I don't have enough teeth to smile as hard as I be going. I'm like, that is so awesome, man. Like, you just be doing stuff. That's so great, man.
So tell me a little bit, each of you, about your history in music. What brought you to where you are now? What brought you to where you are today?
Wow. Oh, that's such a long thing, but let's see if I can abbreviate it. Like most musicians, church. Mm-hmm. My family was heavily into the GMWA and college choir workshops, and two uncles that I have, Kelvin Broughton and John Crosland, were basically two of Atlanta's main keyboard players. And they did all the records that any of the artists that came through at the time. It was your Daryl Coleys and your Hezekiah Walkers and Tremaine Hawkins, the Hawkins families, and all these people. They would just come by my grandma's house, not to do music so much, but to eat. And that's because eventually they was going to do music later on that afternoon, or they were rehearsing or something. So Kirk Franklin would come by, or, all these people just come by, and I'm just, 8, 9 years old, and soaking it up.
Yeah.
So with that being part of it, I would see these musicians come in and out of the house, your William Greens and Vance Taylors and all these people. And as a whole, I just gravitated towards it. A guy named Rick Carter was playing bass at the time, Cathedral of Faith, and was doing all these records. He's like the parallel of him and a guy named Andrew Goucher. Bass players were nation's in the top 5 for sure. So with that being said, it was like, wow, I saw him playing in my uncle's basement because my uncle had a choir called IMC, Interdenominational Mass Choir. And I saw him come down, never forget what he had on. He had on all red Kangol ponytail, juries, smell like Oscar De La Renta, all this kind of stuff. I mean, completely red socks, red shoes, red everything. So he's coming downstairs, he's playing, and he had this Yamaha TRB-6. Monster bass player, and I call him Dad, and he calls me the Particle Son. Nice. So crazy thing is, man, I said to my mom, I think I was like 9. I said, I want to do that, play that. So she made me join the orchestra, which had nothing in my mind to do
right,
with bass,
do with the right.
So joined the orchestra, and the story goes there. Orchestra jazz lab finally got me an electric bass. Progressed from there because, again, my uncles were doing all these artists, and there were choirs in the city. Keith Brooks, who's a pastor now, gave me my first shot at playing because my family, my uncles and grandma said I wasn't ready yet. Now I'm living in the house with these people, and they're saying, no,
you ain't got it.
you're not ready. But Keith was like, well, you can come play with us, which brings Rick Carter back in the story. So He's Worthy comes out, major song in the gospel.
Yeah.
Finally, I got Rick on recording. So now I'm studying this album just relentlessly. And so now I come out the house 16, 17 with this Rick Carter sound, quote unquote. So then, in the same space, I'm listening to John Patitucci and Nathan East and Jimmy Haslip because my uncles were heavy in the albums. Every Friday and Saturday, just drop albums, Earth, Wind, and Fire,
Nice.
Gap Band, all this other stuff. So now I'm getting this weird mesh of jazz, gospel,
Right.
and it
And
progressed.
funk
And all this stuff, Bootsy Collins, Marcus Millers, and all this kind of stuff. And to fast forward the story, I started doing club gigs and stuff, and I was playing at Apache, but it wasn't Apache at the time. It was Yin Yang, and kind of got some of my first start of cutting my teeth in that jazz club world with that. Cafe 290s dropping by and just seeing these guys play, and they would say, man, you have really, really big ears, because come up here and play, not knowing any songs. They would just tell me notes and I would play them. Put all that together. Jeff Roll, which is Kelly Price's husband at the time, saw me playing at Yin Yang. He pulled me out, said, I want you to be music director of Kelly Price. Then I started getting 112 and Jagged Edge and all this stuff kind of tied together. And it's interesting because at the same time, still kind of got a foot in gospel.
Right.
I'm doing a gospel record with Tommy Sims, which changed the world. Eric Clapton, Celine Dion. He did all these amazing records. BB and CC Winans.
What was that? Simply Redeemed.
Simply Redeemed, exactly. So that's all that ties together, and it's just a process of people seeing what you do, and you just simply enjoying what you do, not necessarily trying to get on a gig. That was never my thing. I always just wanted to be really good at whatever it was put for me, and that's still my motto. It's not about money. It's not about anything but wanting to take this project here now and being good at that.
Yeah.
And I always tell the ones before me, or the guys I mentor, it's not about being great. Great is relative. Good is parallel. If you're good transcends everything. But great, I think that's a relative conversation of who's great and what is great. But yeah, so that pushed me off into this other little stuff and TVs and some of the Soul Train Awards and BET stuff like that. And and eventually it just, in the last, 10 years, I've been more of a music director than anything else.
Tell me about the music store. What's the vision behind the music store?
So the music store was a
Third
concept.
World.
Yeah, it was about, I was on a Capitol Jazz Cruise. I was a music director for a Capitol Jazz Cruise with the Get Down Club with Joey Somerville. And me and Jarrell Flynn J Fly were walking around. Our concepts came around at the same time because we had a situation. We was going to go on tour with Bootsy Collins, sponsored by Starbucks, and all these other sponsors and all this, right? So we put 4 weeks in of rehearsal, and the plug got pulled. Like something happened with the money and all this kind of stuff. So we have 4 weeks in and had just lost 10 grand. I still have the check. Bounced. And end up having this gig that came out for the Capitol Jazz. And we were on the boat. Mike Phillip was around. And I said, man, I got this idea. I was doing spots with Funk Jazz, Jason Orr with Funk Jazz, and he always, brings these artists that, you do a show, but no one ever knows who the artists are. Mm-hmm. And I always thought that was very cool. Mm-hmm. And I said, man, what would be really cool is to take his concept, which is actually all over the building. At Tabernacle, you have different rooms doing different things with DJs, and all this kind of stuff, art, paint, and all that. So what would happen if you did that musically? You know what I mean? Something like a music store where you see all these different genres. So I started tapping into my phone book. And there's like, I'm doing a show and bring some jazz and we're doing some rock and bring this. It's like you walk to a music store and you can go and see a record, blah, 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 blah. Nobody would probably do more than 3 or 4 songs.
Right.
It was just a concept for me. It's like, okay, I like this stuff. And usually if I like it, probably these people will like it. My people will like it. And that's what happened. So I did that for 5-7 years or something like that. And it was good. I still like the concept, but then things, progression takes over.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's where I was introduced to you. It was my birthday, and everybody knows. So I do music, but it's all in the worship realm, But I'm a jazz head. That's what I listen to. That's like almost all that I listen to. And so anyway, they brought me to Cafe 290, and it was a music store night, and it was your band, and I think it might have been the release of Trichotomy. Mm-hmm. It might have been the release of Trichotomy, and seeing, and this is what we're going to talk about in a few minutes here. Seeing the way that you follow each other. You're totally jamming. You're coming up with stuff on the fly, but you're together, and it's not a train wreck, And there's a craft behind that. You said when you started doing music, you were put in the orchestra first. Mm-hmm. Well, I've always said classical music is the pinnacle of crafted music. While jazz is the pinnacle of music because it takes all of the rules of classical and then breaks them.
Definitely a way of saying that. I have to agree with that.
And so you have to be classically trained, and I'm sure you were, which we'll talk about. You have to be classically trained. You've got to know the fundamentals in order to play around with jazz and improvise. And improvisation is what we'll get to. I think I just went on a rabbit trail there. I'm not quite sure.
It's your show.
No, yeah, it's definitely your show. I don't know if all the way on a rabbit trail because it's very, it's parallel because, yes, I did orchestra high school.
Right.
But like I was telling you that they would throw me in these situations, that didn't come from nothing taught like that.
Right.
What happened was those 2 guys I told you about, my uncles, they both keyboardists, okay? And what happened is we would play songs. Both of them would play the same song. But when I played it with one uncle, the bass note, they say we're in F. It would be F. The other uncle would say play a D flat here. The other uncle, and then he'd go back and then the same pass, say, yeah, don't do that one. Do an A against it. And so now when my friends hear me reharm something, it's like, well, that's because I was taught that it could be these 4 things for this one chord. The chord is this, yet I can make it do all this other stuff without you having to change so much. So it was that in real time, you at this church, you're at the church gig and somebody's calling a 4 or a 3 or just saying simply A, real time, and you're reacting to it, which makes what we do, seem super connected. Like we're totally, it's like, yeah, because we're listening and we're paying attention, and someone's saying something or throwing some kind of, signal. And then what's cool about Mike is, he plays sax, but he plays keys and he sings.
Right. And he produces.
He produces and all this stuff. So if he says
Andy's
something,
Superman,
the reality,
he's the musical Superman.
Yeah, exactly. So he could say something to us, and we don't go through a bunch of computing. We just literally trust what he says, and understand that what he's talking about is probably going to work.
Right.
So don't worry about it. Okay. So we go there.
Yeah. All right, I want to come back to that.
I wanted to touch on that right quick though.
Yeah. No. Go ahead, please.
Just because I hear what you're saying about the the classically trained and orchestral. Which is all great stuff. I mean, I went to Indiana. I got bachelor's, master's, all that schooling. But most guys who I work with and tour with for the past 20 years, most of them, if they went to college, they didn't finish. I remember I would be in high school because I was listening to Dexter Gordon. And I asked my friends, like, so who y'all listening to? They said, well, I put it on the jazz station. I don't really know who it is, but I just listen. But they couldn't tell me a B flat dominant chord. They wouldn't know theory, but it's just it's almost like an oral tradition. I mean, almost like how the jazz guys would learn back in the day on the bandstand. I guess my generation, me and Trey's generation, would be more like we learned in the bandstand at church. Almost just it's ear training. You take ear training classes in school, but it's a lot of things that we do as far as just being able to watch Trey call signs and do this and that. We got that from church. I mean, but and I tell most cats, no matter what color you are, wherever you're from in the world, I think if every musician spent a year in the black church, I think they would be. Listen. That's school right there.
You are preaching to the choir.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, seriously, because it's not. I mean, yes, we have guys that went to school and can chart these beautiful arrangements and all this and that. But at the end of the day, it's really your ear, man. It's I think that's the greatest gift most cats who come out of the black church have is their ear, and their their ability to talk without talking. Because you got to watch the choir director, you got to watch the minister of music, you have to watch the pastor, whatever he's going to do, and it's all organic,
right?
You know what I'm saying? It's not like we're learning our chord scale relationships, and and most of these cats haven't checked out Mozart or Beethoven or even Duke Ellington or
right. So let's backtrack a little bit.
Okay.
Your musical journey.
Yes, sir.
And how are we doing on time? When do you guys need?
We're good. Go ahead, Ryan.
We're good. Okay.
Yeah. Musical journey. Born and raised Jackson, Mississippi. Both my parents were musicians. My dad played before I was born. He played in high school and college, but he was always, talking about the saxophone, and he had me listening to all kind of old school R&B soul records from the 60s and 70s. He loved the Temptations and all the Motown stuff. He loved Isaac Hayes and the OJs and all that kind of stuff. So I was, always going through his album collection as a kid. My mom was a singer. She was singing out around the house all the time. When I was probably 5th grade, she joined the Mississippi Mass Choir, which at the time, back in the late 80s, was like the #1 gospel group in the country. Their first album was #1 in the country for, I would say, a year. Mm-hmm. And so just being in Jackson at that time, Malaco Records, you had all the major gospel groups would sign that label or some subsidiary of that label. Georgia Mass, Milton Brunson, everybody was on that label back in the day. Frank Williams was over the gospel department, so I got to just see that as a kid, going to rehearsals with my mom, and that really, started firing me to want to pursue music. Just seeing her at rehearsals and recordings and going on the road. Got to middle school, I started to play the saxophone. I guess at first I just wanted to be in the marching band because where I'm from is a big marching band culture. Jackson State University, Sonic Boom of the South. That's a big thing where I'm from. So that was initially really all I wanted to do was play and be in the band and try to sing or whatever. But my parents pushed me to go into performing arts high school, and once I got there, 9th grade, I heard Charlie Parker and Dexter Gordon, because before that I just I knew Kenny G. That's all I knew saxophone to be. I'm
going to interrupt you with a funny story.
Okay.
I'm sitting at Cafe 290. It's my birthday. My wife says, "What do you want to do for your birthday?" I said, "I'm going to Cafe 290, and I don't really care if anybody goes with me." Right. So I go by myself. I'm sitting there, and Kenny G comes, and he's sitting right here, right? You know how there's that wall right there.
Yeah.
Kenny G's sitting right there, and this is my. I always say there's two kinds of jazz places. This might. I hope this doesn't offend you, and it might not make the recording. There's the place that's kind of amber lit, where white people go and drink martinis, right? Mm-hmm. And then there's real jazz place.
I got you.
I remember that night. That was funny.
And that's Cafe 290. And Kenny G's sitting right here, and I look over and I'm like, huh, Kenny G. I'm not meaning to disrespect Kenny G.
Yeah.
But Kenny G. Trey, come over and let me get a picture. I turn my back on Kenny G.
Totally a true story. Totally true story. Sure did.
I'm like, all right, that's Kenny G. But this is Trey. Come on, man.
I love it.
I remember that.
Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so no shade to Kenny G. I mean,
No Kenny G
he's a
shade.
multi-millionaire. He's
Starbucks.
Starbucks. He can play his horn. Hey, man, I mean, look, there's a time and place for everything. He found his niche.
He did, and that's great. That's fantastic.
Saying, but, I guess, 7th, 8th grade, I thought that was all the saxophone could do. And then I heard bebop, and I heard Charlie Parker. And I was like, man, he can play all those notes and that fast. And so I started listening to that. At the same time, I'm playing in church every Sunday morning. I would play for the offering or the sermonic hymn. So I would play a hymn, so I got my, vocabulary up as far as playing those kind of songs. But I'm listening to jazz at the same time. And thought I was pretty good. I was making, all city band and all that stuff. And my parents sent me up to Boston for Berklee College of Music summer 5-week summer performance program. And I thought I was good when I was I got to Berklee. I was like, man, I'm terrible. Like it was these kids from all over the world. From Israel, this guy named Ellie. He was amazing, man. Yeah. Guys from South Africa, from all over the States. And they were just amazing. So I came back home. I said, I think I want to go out of state for school, get away and kind of just, experience some new things. So I went to Indiana, studied with David Baker, and, really try to get my jazz chops up. But I'm still a church boy, R&B soul guy at heart. So that's kind of where I was leaning. But, to have that foundation in jazz theory and composition was very good for me. I stuck around, got a master's degree just because I didn't know what the next thing was. So, but I stayed there. And I was, when I finished grad school, I was looking for a teaching job, didn't know really where I was going. And a buddy of mine was touring with Universal Soul Circus. And he was quitting. The circus wasn't for him. So I said, well, hey, man, what's the gig paying? He told me what it paid. I'm a broke college kid. Like, look, I'll take it. Tell him about me. So 2 weeks later, I got my master's degree from the prestigious Indiana Jacob School of Music, and I joined the circus.
So good.
Bam.
That's so good. You can't make this stuff up, man.
It's a true story. I did it for 2 years. And then that's what got me to Atlanta, because the circus was based out of Atlanta. I got here. Most of the guys in the band were from Atlanta. Drummer KB Cameron Blaylark, he had a band with Trey back in the day called Urban Soul. And that's how I met Trey in probably 2002, early 2003. And got here and hit the jam sessions and playing with these guys, and start getting called for local gigs. And I would tell any young musician, if you get called for a gig, I don't care what it is, honor the gig, learn your music, be on time, because basically one thing leads to the next thing.
Yes,
that's my whole experience. I mean, from college to doing the circus to now touring with legends and playing on TV and recordings, and it's all about your integrity. It's a very small community of worldwide. I mean, it's probably 1 degree of separation. If I don't know him, Trey know him.
Facts.
Pick up a phone and whatever, it'll change your life.
Yeah.
So, I won't have to get into what I did after that as far as resume stuff, but just, integrity and being, person of your word. And,
yeah. And there's a fine line, isn't there, between playing to try to get your name in lights and playing for the joy of playing and to express yourself. Now, let's talk about that a little bit. I'm gonna say 2 words. No, I'm not. I'm gonna say 1 word, and I want you to just tell me what it is to you. Worship. What is worship to you?
I guess for me, it's just it's being honest. It's pure. It's like a conversation between you and God. It's not really, what trying to get the congregation or the crowd or the people to respond or whatever. It's just it's a very personal thing. A lot of times if I'm playing, I just close my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really concerned with, and then when it's all said and done, most times people are enjoying what they're hearing or the experience, but you shouldn't go into it trying to impress people. It's a very personal thing between you and God.
I have to agree. It's worship, praise and worship. When you say that, most people aren't clear what the difference is.
Okay.
That's the first thing to know. Because you see it every Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at least I see it every Sunday. And you see a couple things. What you see is people singing a song, and then you see in front, you see this action here. These people have just walked in. Some of them are standing up, some are sitting down, and they haven't connected yet.
Mm-hmm.
But it's quote unquote the job for us to bring them into the space of praise and worship. What gets difficult is whatever they're going through,
right?
Taking away what you're going through. You have to not. You have to be transparent, but not transparent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What your issues are, take a second seat to what's to the needs of the people that you're talking to or trying to get into praise and worship mode, right? So the songs matter. What it looks like matter. I hear people always say, well, I shouldn't have to pull teeth to get you to. No, actually, yeah, you do have to pull teeth because you're trying to get them to break a barrier. They're trying to understand the all the things that happened before they got to this hour and a half in front of you. They're trying to put it back and get into this mode. So something in the word, something in the music, quote unquote, pricks their heart. Would you agree to that? You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So something they heard, something they see, something that they feel at that moment, that one lyric, in the Baptist church, you could take simply Jesus. Jesus, and you see Kojics and certain denominations just say, Jesus, and they hammer that in. And if you say it about a good 10 or 15 times, Doc, you know what I'm saying? All of a sudden, so you start to feel something, the more and more, and this is something that's powerful in the name, and that's the lyric.
Right.
And
right.
And then what happens is that thing transcends. I always believe that my good energy is bigger than your bad energy, or it'll beat, quote unquote, whatever is going on in your life. We can get past that with what we can ready to put on you, because I'm smiling. I'm happy about what I do. I enjoy what I do, and I want to push that on you. You know what I mean? And usually people see that. Something that you said, when you see us playing and doing what we do, it just looks like what we up there having fun, man. And the reality is that's it.
Yeah.
No more, no less.
So let's bridge a little question here. What is, now personally, because there's a function for a worship leader, but then you as the worship musician, what is the difference between you playing in worship and you playing as your expression, as your personal expression, be it a song you're coming up with for your new album, you got amen, 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 amen. I'll say what, I love that too. When you're coming up with your own music, there's that integrity there because it's yours.
Right.
And when you're doing worship, when you're leading worship, there's that integrity there because the worship has to be yours or it's not going to be believable, right?
Yes.
So to you personally, is there a difference between when you're playing, when you're worshiping, and when you are constructing some new expression of your own? Is that a clear question?
So it's clear.
Okay.
It's clear enough. I think there's a lot of caveats to that.
Now I'm taking the people out of it.
Well,
Taking the people out of it, because that's a separate thing. That's a function. But when you're up there doing it yourself, where is your worship, and where's the difference between your expression when you're writing your own stuff?
Well, like I say, I mean, I guess the older I get, and when I write my own music, you know, being a family man, being a dad, being a husband, I want it all to have integrity. I want it all to be something my kids can listen to. I want it all to be positive, I guess, you know. So I think, you know, the best music is honest music. Is, you know, you aren't chasing fads. You aren't trying to do what you think is the popular thing to get followers or to do. I mean, of course you want people to like your music, but it's not like you aren't, you know, whatever the new hi-hat pattern is now, whatever the new drum kick pattern is, you know, it's like you're not chasing those things. You're just trying to do what comes to you naturally and what feels good. Mm-hmm. So I think, you know, even if I'm playing at church or if I'm playing my own music, if I'm playing with a secular artist, whatever, I still want it to speak to people as pure, as honest, as good, as soulful. You know, I don't know if I'm answering the question, but
You are.
Yeah, I mean, I try not to overthink it. I guess I could say that. You know, I just want to come from a you know, a place that's honest to me. I'm just, you know, trying to sing through my horn. If I'm singing my own lyrics, I'm trying to write something to encourage people, something, you know, my kids, my nieces and nephews can be encouraged by, some kind of positive energy to take them through their day. You know, for anybody, you know, that's kind of my whole thing.
Yeah, well, that's why I was saying there's a lot of caveats to that, right? Yep. So, like, if he's going to do his job, or I'm going to do my job, let's take Patti LaBelle and Bobby Brown, for instance. There's a job involved.
Sure. And that's
is
commissioned music.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. It has less to do with, in his case, in my case, are totally different. I have to play way more of what the record is. Yeah. In my case. Sure. He has a lot more liberty in his case, right? So he might have 16 bars where he has to do his thing, mm-hmm, right? Mm-hmm. The reality is I don't have those 16 bars. My moments happen inside of this construct, this structure. Sure. But it still has to have the integrity of the original. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So with him, he has a liberty. Patty say, or Jill says, "Hey, Mike Burton on sax, right?" You know, he comes in. He has liberty. He closes eyes. He goes for it, right? Mm-hmm. But I don't think he has a cap as much as I have a cap. Would you agree to that? Yeah. Okay, so then you have our own music, right? You have to say what record you have, Trichotomy album, right? So that stuff for us, he was a part of. I think we were both a part of each other's records. So for that, it was like, hey man, come up to the house. Mm-hmm. What you got? You know, I wanted to kind of go like this a little bit, but just, you know what, just do whatever you do. Right. And I'd be like, yeah. So what you should do is do whatever you're gonna do, and what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna like it and do it. And he's like, you sure? I was like, yeah, don't worry about it. It's cool. But I can't do it again? Nah, that's it. I want that. Right. And he probably just took his horn out and was, because it was, lack of a better word, thoughtless. It was just like, I'm just playing. Yeah. And that's the energy that I wanted to convey. Now, did I have some horn lines? I was like, I need y'all to play this like at the end of one of the songs. What about this kind or something like that? Yeah. It was like, you know, oh my God, wait, hold on. What is it? And it took us a second because I like to write horn lines. But once I explained it to them and they heard it, they was like, got it. You know what I mean? But that's probably half and half. You know what I mean? So the energies happen through the simple concepts. Mm-hmm. So, for instance, when we first started the song and it started doing like this, it's just this piece and this piece and this piece. These are just the three basic things. Yeah. All the good stuff, there's no writing it. Right. There is no...
which is what I love to watch when I'm watching you live. It's like, that is not scripted.
No, it's totally not scripted. It's like,
but it is following those signals. that we're talking about.
Definitely following some signals in some cases and understanding. We all are music directors and producers,
right.
and nothing is better than playing with people who get how to bob and weave and let those moments happen without me saying, hey, break it down to a rim shot, hi-hat, and kick.
Right.
Why do I got to say that? Like,
It's over.
Yeah, right, exactly. I might just simply throw up a one and do like this.
Right.
And like, pow.
Right.
And everybody hit the thing, and we sit on it, and I was like, ooh, oh, that's simmery right there.
Okay.
And then,
So now we're getting kind of to the crux of what I wanted to talk about today, which that doesn't mean we're going to be here for another 5 hours. Because hello.
No.
If you read the liner notes to A Love Supreme, okay? I'm just going to start. Love Supreme liner notes. Dear listener, all praise be to God, to whom all praise is due. Let us pursue him in the righteous path. Yes, it is true. Seek and ye shall find. Only through him can we know the most wondrous bequeathal. During the year 1957, I experienced, by the grace of God, a spiritual awakening, which was to lead me to a richer, fuller, more productive life. Now, Coltrane. And I said this to both of you when we initially talked about having this podcast. Coltrane was doing Coltrane, but he was on heroin until he got fired from Miles Davis, right? Miles' band. And then he said, I got to go clean. And when he came back with, I think Giant Steps was the first album that he came back with, it was a new Coltrane. There was something there. And it culminated, I think, in A Love Supreme. What Coltrane was doing was he was pushing the limits of his horn. He was listening to all of the sounds that are out there, and he was saying, how can I express more? And my thought is, because of where his heart was, his spiritual journey was, you could look at much of Coltrane's later stuff and call it worship. Because he was expressing, Love Supreme certainly is worship. And I would much rather, we talk about contemporary worship. Listen, we all I think get to a point where we have a hard time continuing to listen to the new expressions that are out there because, well, that's not the way we did it growing up.
Right.
And I get there too. I'm like, I do not want to listen to Beth. I do not want to listen to that thing again.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's the same song over and over again. And I get more out of listening to A Love Supreme than I do out of some of these commissioned worship songs. My thought is, there's something missing today in worship, in the formula that we can borrow from those free expressions that we find in Coltrane, in jazz, in those music store moments. We get so stuck in the formula that we forget to express, we forget to create. And I would say that you might be on the stage with Jill Scott, but where your heart is when you're doing your solo, that solo might be worship. Right. Because it's where your heart is, Right. Speak to that for a moment if you have a thought on that.
I have a huge thought on that.
Okay. Go.
It's so much involved in that, what you just said. The reality is the society has done something to us time-wise. Mm-hmm. It's done something to us socially. So what I mean by that is, when you used to go to church and you used to hear people complain, oh, we've been in church for 4 hours, right? Okay, well, there's a lot involved in that. What is that? That it means you were there because back in the day when people were just doing it, some people were even walking to church. They were a lot of oppression was involved, a lot of sadness and release. This was a safe haven in a lot of cases. So history plays a role in what was going on with the evolution. People wrote from a different place. It wasn't about social media and all these digital streams and things of that nature. When you actually went and bought a record, you had to go and buy a record. You wasn't sitting at home doing like this, fumbling through thousands of stuff because it's at your fingertips.
Right.
It was actually a work to actually go get a Hawkins album, and I'm bobbing and weaving, but Earth, Wind and Fire, super spiritual.
Yeah,
I mean,
devotion.
Literally, super spiritual. And if you really pay attention to those records, that's why those albums are so amazing. What was going on with them was they were tapping into something genuine. Okay, so the writers were genuine. It goes back to church. All of it was just happening because they were writing from a Amazing Grace. I mean, you start thinking about just these basic, simple songs. What happened now is, trying to push this along, is that we've taken a model. Gospel, what was classified as gospel at one point, and what is also CCM now.
Yeah.
Those came into the same space.
Yes.
But what didn't happen was, and it's gonna sound weird when I say it, country music didn't come to R&B.
Right.
They had their lanes.
Yep.
They had their styles, they had their models, and those were that. Now what's happened is this thing, your Israel Houghton's, which is great, and I can't even name all these CCM artists and stuff. But if you listen to all these records right now, with your Tasha Cobbs and stuff like that, all that stuff, it's classified as gospel,
right?
But it's not
right.
Traditional gospel. We've moved it over to this CCM, Christian contemporary, whatever you want to call it, style with these guitars and
It's Coldplay.
It's basically Coldplay, yes. But
which was U2.
Which was U2. Come on, man.
They took it, and now it's like this whole thing is not. I don't want to use the word convoluted. I just think it's mashed. It's mashed together. So
it doesn't have the integrity that you were talking about.
And it's not that the lyric base is bad.
Yeah, I mean, because some of those songs will usher in the spirit. A lot of them do. I mean, you will feel it. But I think a lot of time it's not just the music. It's like Trey was saying. It's the world we live in. I mean, it's church as a whole. It's like everything is about time. If you have 3 services, you got to make it. Each service is an hour.
Right.
Yes.
And there's a clock in the back of the church for the pastor to watch. There's a clock on the floor. I mean, I'm speaking from experience playing in some of these huge churches. You know what I'm
right,
saying?
man.
Yep. Not knocking church. I love it, but it's like
that's true.
We've
all been in front of the clock.
We are.
I got you.
If you got 3 services and they're each an hour, you can't even if the spirit is in the room. You say, well, look, this song
have to meet you in the parking lot.
This song is 5 minutes, bro. We got to get out of here. So it's not so much that it's the song, even though, yes, a lot of these songs sound the same. It's the same 4 chord changes, the same guitar patterns and everything. But even if that song ushers in the spirit, because of the time constraints and because I'm sorry, but a lot of it's about money. We got to get the tithe. We got to get the offering in. We got to get this in. We got to get these next 5,000 people in and get these 5,000 people out because we have to pay for this building. We have to do our outreach ministry, whatever, the pastor needs a helicopter, whatever is going on. I'm sorry.
That's what it is.
But I'm just saying, but it's like, so.
In a statement, we rushing God.
We rushing God.
In a statement. That's what's happening.
So if it's Coltrane, if it's Chris Stapleton, if it's whoever it is, I love it all. You know what I'm saying? But if you're not giving, if the song is 3 minutes, but we get to this vamp and you feel something in your spirit, but the time is telling you we got to go on to the next song, then what can we do?
Okay.
And the book tell you not to quench the spirit.
Come on, it's in there.
So that's what it say. So, but that's what we do.
Yes.
And in some cases, and I think it's, I don't know if it's all the way necessary. I think people, because of the disconnect, the fact that I can just literally go on my phone and pull up a church service and sit there and listen to the preacher and then go back in the room.
People have shorter attention spans.
Yeah, they do.
They can't concentrate for more than an hour.
And we are still ministering to the people. So we do still have to meet them where they are.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean that we have to sacrifice those moments when God may want to take something further.
And you in trying to meet the people where they are, maybe somebody's coming in, because I hear these speeches all the time before church. This could be somebody's first Sunday. This could be somebody's first time, blah, blah, blah. So if we are playing something that's bringing this person closer to Christ, why would we cut it short? We might be missing them by 30 seconds of bringing them to salvation, but you're going to shut it down because the clock says we have to keep moving to get the people out and bring the other people in.
That's what it says.
All right. So aside from the clock, and speaking of the clock, are we okay?
We good.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Aside from the clock, which that's a structural thing within the people that are orchestrating the service.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's their thing.
Right.
Let's say you're given the opportunity to take it where the Spirit wants to go.
Yeah.
Okay? Now we're getting back to that. I remember one time I came to Cafe 290, and you guys were playing behind, I don't know if it was Melvin Jones or Reggie Hines, somebody. And they were late. They were super late.
Oh, I know exactly who it was.
You know who it was?
Yes.
So you remember this?
Yes, I know who it was.
And you had...
It wasn't me, man.
Yeah.
It was not Mike Burton.
Okay, good.
It was not a trombone player or a saxophone player.
Okay,
Let's go
all
with
right,
that.
okay. They were super late.
I know who it was.
You know who it was.
And by the way, Cafe 290 really isn't Cafe 290 until at least midnight. That's when things, woo! Look out.
That's when it used to be
That's when
good,
all my
man.
friends that come with me, they're like, oh, I got work in the morning. I'm like, okay, bye.
Right.
Yeah, that's when it gets good.
Anyway. And you had people call out some numbers.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yes.
Maybe a key. And I don't know if we're going Nashville numbering system. I don't know if we're going circle of fifths. This is that gospel thing that we don't do. And I want to learn.
So
okay?
I know what I did. I can tell you what I did.
Okay.
So what happened was,
and you jammed on that thing for 20 minutes, and it was unbelievable.
I asked the audience. I said, "Okay, pick a letter."
Yes.
Between
Yeah.
A and
Okay, so
G.
it was a key. Uh-huh.
So, and then I said, "Give me any number between 2 and 7."
Uh-huh.
And that's how we wrote the head, and that's how we wrote the change.
Okay.
Nice.
So when I picked them out,
It was unbelievable.
So then I said, okay, so give me a beat. And there'll be a beat. I said, we're going to be in the key of E flat. I said, okay, so the numbers were 4, 2, 5, and which is the number system. And the audience wrote the song.
Yes. Yeah. That's what he did.
That's dope.
It's because I wanted people to
It was
see
ridiculous.
that the way we compute and how we write songs is literally just exactly that. Now, we may not talk about numbers and all these kind of things so much. We might just say simply I might say go to the 4, and he'll say, well, go to the 3 right after that. Yeah. And somebody else says, oh, go to the 2. And we're like, all right, so 5, we're going to turn it to the 5, and we're going to get back to the top, right? Okay, there it is. That's our change. Now somebody solos.
Right.
Nice.
Go, Derek Scott.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right. It's beautiful, man. But I wanted the people to be a part of that experience to see, hey, well, it's this stuff and we're having fun and we can create fun with you. You're involved. You just wrote a song. Mm-hmm. Okay. And you're going to help me to do it real time. And then because I felt and still feel that people aren't understanding exactly what we do. People take what we do a little bit for granted and lightly.
Absolutely.
Oh God, especially at church. Some
people get it. Most people are just there to kind of soak it up and be entertained.
I literally was, and I'm gonna bring us back to church. I go through the same process with all things that I do musically. I sit down, I chart it out, whether it's no matter how big or small the gig, it's always a chart involved. So the funny thing is, and I had to tell these people at my church, don't have me write out a whole song when you gonna take out everything, right? Literally everything. You're not gonna do none of the licks. You're not gonna do the key changes up to here. But I can't learn a piece of the song because it's not part of my process, right? But let's just say, for instance, I learned the hook and the bridge only. Then you want to clown me.
Right.
Well, come on, leader. Come on, leadership.
Yeah.
That ain't cool.
Right.
If you could dialogue with me and tell me what you want to do, then I could do what you're asking me. But when you're not a musician and you just kind of like, oh, well, y'all got it. We're going to change the key from E flat to
that's
C.
a conversation, too, from cats like who actually tour and record and play on a certain level and people who just play at church, too. Because we know if we're going to do a tour with somebody, you got to learn the wax. You got to learn the record.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So there's that mentality, you know what I'm saying? And but sometimes...
But if you're at church, you can change it.
Yeah, you can change it, but if we're playing as a unit, you can't, like he said, you know, because the gospel songs will have 5 and 6 sections.
Yeah.
You know, and some really, it's jazz fusion at this point.
At this point, yes.
Yeah.
If you listen to some James Fortune, some Ty Tribbett, that stuff is complex. If you can play contemporary gospel, you can play anything.
Yeah.
Seriously.
And what happens is they don't understand the fact that, oh, we're not going to do it in F today. We're going to do an E flat. Well, E flat with all these licks that you just put in them,
it's hard.
it's a little bit more difficult when I already written it out. I've already got the shapes. I've already had my you know, my finger functions and stuff. Now I got to reconstruct this whole thing because
on the spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, which is a skill set, because it's also not just a skill set to be able to do that. It's a skill set to be able to, you know how good your people are when you do stuff like that. I've seen some of the baddest cats of all time have some real trouble doing transposing because they weren't gospel guys, right? So we used to come in all the time. Oh, we're just going to change it from B flat to C. We'd be like, oh, okay. And we we just play it, right? The other cats over there, hold on, I need about 15, 20 minutes.
Pause button.
Yeah, well, that's how that came about, you know. So it's respect your local musician, please. That's there you go. You know, just do a little bit of more communicating and things of that nature, so that you won't put, yes, people are good and yes, they are capable of it. But if you really want to put your best foot forward for the people, for the audience in some cases, or for the show or whatever you want to call it, then let's make sure that we do the right thing by giving the right information so that I'm not wasting time and frustrated, and because that projects too, right?
Yeah.
It's sonically, it doesn't translate. Sometimes you can't. True story. We were doing a New Edition, and they tried to transpose "Can You Stand the Rain," if I'm correct. And it was horrible in any direction. Because like if you moved it up a half step or a whole step, it sounded weird. You moved it down a half step, a whole step. So you tried it a third up, and they kept saying something's not right. I said, because they wrote the song, and these chords have to be here, no matter what your voice is doing now. 20 years later,
right.
People hear it when boom, 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 do, do, do. I just naturally know the thing, and that's what it's gonna be. And they know the thing, and that's what it's gonna be. Those chords have emotions.
Yeah.
Those they have melody that has been hard written in your mind, whether you know a note or not. Even the audience is like, something sounds a little weird.
Yeah, something's off.
Yeah. So that's my soapbox.
So
Thank you.
So okay, so let's take it down and kind of wrap this up with a little how-to. The clock is gone.
Okay.
All right, we don't have the clock.
All right.
The spirit is moving. All right. What does a worship team need to know, need to be able to do, to then take it and improvise? All right. What are the keys to improvisation? What do they need to know? First of all, I know the number one thing is the fraction rule. Understand that you're a fractional part of the whole, and you got to listen to each other.
listen to each other, but also listen to people doing that. I think that's a big part of it. If you just can't, I couldn't start playing the saxophone like trying to play Charlie Parker licks if I never checked out Charlie Parker.
Right.
So I think, if you want to go that way in your service, even if it's CCM stuff, have them check out some real gospel music. Have them listen to some quartet music. Have them listen to the Winans. Have them check out, like certain, so just it's like performance practice, you know what I'm saying? So you can get that under your finger. So even to know what to do or where to go, have them watch videos of these certain type of performances or services.
What are some things that they can go to start to see what that actually looks like that you have in mind?
Well, it's a couple things in there. I think that sometimes is a little bit more basic than
Okay.
Right? That's the first thing. Right. I agree with Mike. But I also think that what we've done is put the control in with the worship leader and less input with the band when we're all technically Levites. Okay.
Yes.
So if this person would tune in, the worship leader that is, would tune in with the band,
yes,
and allow them some space, allow them a moment to go from, I don't even know which song I would pick, but let's say you're at the end of the song. You see this all the time live. You might see it on some, some recordings or whatever. You hear them stop on the 5, or you hear them go 1, 4, or 2, or 2, 5, 1, or whatever, being in the number world, and you hear them do that. Sometimes that's just the band communicating with each other, saying, "When we stop right here, what we're gonna do? We should stop. And we're gonna sit on it and allow it to just sit." And then you hear them saying, "Thank you, Lord," and all this, right? And then somebody say, "Okay, go to the 2, turn it." They may just something as simple as that, allowing it to be what it is, right? And that's the stuff that needs to be paid attention to. It's real small, it's minute, but the worship leader might need to lend the moment or the spirit to whatever your counterpart Levites are doing over here. Not just, like, in other words, they can't just change keys in the middle of the moment,
right,
and start singing on a whole nother key, because now that disrupts the flow, right? So that same mentality, or just a parallel responsibility, let's use that as a thing. Let your other Levites feel, because it's something that they might have to add, which will create something with you, and it becomes what we talk about on stage, cyclical, and we create this thing, and then now we're feeding off each other, and it's not just, okay, here's the structure, don't deviate, I'm going to control everything. No, that's not it.
And turn the Pro Tools off. A lot of churches, because these big churches now are using Pro Tools.
Everything
is in the box.
Stems? Right.
Turn them off.
Cut them off. Only thing you technically need is maybe the percussion.
Yeah, maybe a click or something, or but I don't know. Like, actually learn the song and don't have everything in the box.
Yes.
So you can have a moment. It can be organic, or if you need it for the song, when the song is done, turn it off and then have a moment.
Right.
Go somewhere.
And the mistake might be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let the keyboard player create a thing. And then he brings the bass player in. It's probably the last couple notes that's in the on the song, or maybe it's just a piece of the bridge, or just 1 or 2 notes here or there that you can pull out and create a whole nother thing. And that's basically something I would say pay attention to and watch, because you've seen it thousands of times and you never paid attention. Wow, now they're just sitting on this. And they just might sit there, boom, something like that, and then they just sit on the phone and they'll repeat that. So just repeat that.
Yeah.
I love the Lord. You know what I'm saying? And it can just happen, But don't overcomplicate it. It's just give room.
And something that always works? Hymns. A good hymn will usher the spirit in like nothing else. I don't care. It can be the most contemporary song, whatever you want to sing. You sing a hymn, Precious Lord, Amazing Grace, whatever, it's gonna happen. And you don't need Pro Tools for that. You don't need all this stuff in the box for that.
So in our situation, because we don't do hymns much, but what you're saying is something standard that everybody knows that you can get into quickly.
Yeah.
And or some phrase
Yes.
back to the Jesus thing.
Right.
Back to the I love the Lord,
Mm-hmm.
or thank you, something that like of that nature.
Call and response.
Call and response,
Right.
and
Call and
because
response.
nothing that requires a whole bunch of chordal anything or a bunch of parts where everybody got to do. Just say it with me. I
In
love
unison,
the
right.
Lord, and then all of a sudden they're involved, and that energy goes here, and then these guys respond, and it's just this whole,
So let's say that you've got a worship leader that's actually going to listen to the band.
say
In our, not here, but with the conference that I do, I've got these 3 gospel guys from Miami, and the drummer is the leader of the band. He's got his mic back there, and he'll talk back mic. He's telling everybody where to go, and I'm watching the drummer. And so we can have those moments. They know how they're going to move from this chord progression to that chord progression, how we're going to repeat this bridge, whatever. So let's say you've got the worship leader that's actually listening to the band. You've got the band that's listening to each other. What is do they need to know the Nashville number system? Do they need to know the circle of fifths? Should they just be practicing scales so that they can go within whatever key that? How are they going to progress? How can they progress together without it being a train wreck?
usually is what the number system. All of it's parallel.
Yeah, and I would say not necessarily Nashville number system, but just if you know the diatonic scale, if you know 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that's really all we're saying.
That's all you're saying.
Right.
Yeah.
It's nobody knows majors and minors per se.
Yeah.
I mean, well, you know them, but you're not having that conversation.
Sure.
You know instinctively if a song is minor or major because you've been playing the song,
Right.
But if the drummer says go to the 5, everybody knows if we're here on a major already, we're going to the 5.
E and D, we're going to A.
Yeah, simple and plain. You know what I mean? So those things should be general music
That
things.
should be 101 stuff that the band knows so that they have the freedom to go together.
Yeah, because the song has already been played, right?
Right.
So you played the song. Song actually is 1, 4, 1, 5. That's the whole song.
Right.
Right? At the end of the day.
Right.
Or 2, 5, 1 is the turn back to whatever. Okay? If I say go to the 3, and then I say go to the 4, now go to the 5. Now stay there. Slide to the 1. Boom. 4. Everybody to the 5. Back to the 1, everybody. 1. And everybody knows it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So now I want to create a worship vibe, right? So we at the 1. Everybody go. Everybody to the 5. We're going to sit there. Everybody here? Everybody okay? Don't you love the Lord like me? Yes. You know,
That's it.
I could just literally sit
That's
there
it.
and say that, and it's almost you can't mess this stuff up at this
Okay.
point because where all the songs sit chordally,
Yeah.
it's always guitar, bass, capos, and all this kind of stuff. It ain't real hard to mess it up. Just call one of them numbers,
Yeah.
and everybody will go, and you'll hear it.
Yep.
You'll hear it, and the spirit will be in there.
Right.
Because it's got to be something that you've already done.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Already
Yeah.
done. It's in the song structure.
Right.
It's
Sure.
just about how long you sit there or not sit there. As long as we're going together, it's never wrong.
And once again, to get ideas, you can check out some recordings because I know Ty Tripp at Live Records or, some of these folks. If you just check out some of the vamps at the end of these songs, you can take some of that stuff and add it to your own arsenal. That's all we doing.
Yep.
We listening to each other, and that was cool what they did on that one song. Let's put that right here.
Mm-hmm.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And,
Yeah.
All
All right. This has been fantastic. I really appreciate you guys being here. So let's end on this. What is it that you're listening to right now? What is on? You've got this on repeat. What are you listening to right now?
Funny. Guy named Tom Misch.
Tom
he's
Misch.
He just keeps popping up in my car, and I just man, I like this guy.
he's from Europe, right?
Yeah, it's some interesting sounding stuff. The mixes kind of have a want to say Steely Dan sound, but I want to say maybe like, what's the guy who writes for him?
Donald Fagen.
Donald Fagen. It's got this little thing, and Donald Fagen comes into mind because I just like the way his records sound. Yeah. But yeah, usually I just have moments where I listen to stuff for, it's very direct.
Yeah.
But when I'm in the car though, it's random because my phone just tags in and then it says somebody shows up. And I've
been on a Kamasi Washington kick.
Like
yeah.
It's crazy stuff.
Yeah.
What about you, Mike? What are you listening to?
What am I listening to right now? I just started listening to this group, Meuchad, their latest project. I like it. It's because their production sounds a lot like Jay Dilla or the guy who produced Slum Village, a lot of the Soulquarian stuff from the late 90s, early 2000s. So it sounds like that vibe, but the singer's very airy, nice voice. And it's just it's a horn section too, so it's like, the singer plays saxophone, female singer, she's amazing.
Nice.
And so I'm kind of digging them right now.
And actually, I went and we just did April Love's. I'm not sure what her name is called.
Yeah.
This girl named Carvina.
Oh yeah,
she's amazing, and a guy named Avery Wilson was also in my radar.
Oh yeah, he's bad. Yeah.
Like these are some monster singers, and I don't even know if they have albums, man. I just know that these are some amazing singers that I went on their IGs, and probably want to check those too.
All right, cool. All right, so we have been here, Panim El Panim, face to face with Trey Gilbert and Mike Burton. Where can they find your music?
Oh, iTunes, all that kind of stuff. CD
Website
Babies,
is
and, TresGilbert.com. Trey is spelled TRES. So, or Trey Funk on any platform. Yeah, see my threes. You'll see my logos and stuff like that. It usually comes up if you spell my name right. TRES. Yeah.
Mike, where can they find your stuff?
Website is MikeBurtonMusic.com. Burton is Burton. Mike Burton Music. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, of course, Spotify, iTunes, all that stuff, Apple Music.
And as I said before, support your local musician. Buy, don't stream. Go check these guys out. Trichotomy is an incredible album. Say What, my favorite album. Good Times Brass Band is good too.
Oh yeah,
appreciate it.
And this has been Panim El Panim from Meuchad with Trey Gilbert, Mike Burton. Thanks, guys, so much for coming by today. This has been a great conversation.
Thank you, brother.
This is awesome.
All right. Thanks again for listening to this podcast. If you would like to learn more about the resources Meuchad has to offer, including its free online songbook, visit us at meuchad.org. That's MEUCHAD.org. To make a tax-deductible donation, we invite you to click the donation button. We pray that God continues to bless you and your ministry. God bless and shalom.
I don't know what else to say. Let the choir say, and let the church say, 'cause I don't know what else to say. Let me talk to you for